Yeah, what's going on, everyone? Thanks for coming to watch. So, guys, an update on a major multi-day severe weather outbreak that we have brewing here for the central and eastern United States. We're going to be talking about a pretty significant episode of severe weather between now and the next couple of days. We could definitely be talking about potential significant severe weather events on Easter Sunday. I've got all the details coming right up. So, thank you for joining me here on this Thursday afternoon. We have a lot to talk about in this video. We're going to be breaking down again the next couple of days of severe weather, as we do have a very significant threat coming up for many areas here across the country. But I will say, I did film this exact same video, uh, like an hour ago, and I realized there was no audio, so this is going to be the second take. So I apologize if this, isn't as clean as what the other one could have been like. But I'm just going to try to make this as smooth as possible. But we're going to start out here by taking a look at your current radar, and you can see we have two things going on. One, you can see we do have some showers and storms rumbling through portions of far southern and central Missouri into far western Illinois and northeastern Iowa there. Really, all you can expect, there's some heavy rain and some thunders, lightning, nothing much other than that. And you can see we also do have our surface low that is actually developing here across the mountain northwest. It is dropping a lot of snow over those upper elevations there. We do have winter storm warnings in these areas. But this is where your big time severe threat and hail threat is going to come from today as those storms initiate. So that's your surface low. That's going to be bringing all this unsettled weather throughout the rest of today. All right. So we're going to be moving on here to your alerts. And you can see we have multiple things going on. You can see we do have some red flag warnings going out for portions of western Kansas into the Oklahoma Panhandle, into the Texas Panhandle, into portions of western Texas, all of New Mexico, eastern Arizona, and into portions of Colorado there. So again, the windy and dry conditions will definitely combine to create a pretty dangerous fire hazard threat today. But because we do have some high wind warnings off into portions of western New Mexico there into, again, the far western panhandle of Oklahoma. So, again, just make sure that you are not burning anything outside, messing around with anything flammable, because today is going to be a pretty primed environment for fire spread. So we really want to make sure that we can prevent that as much as possible. But other than that, we don't have much going on other than a few winter storm warnings going out for portions of the upper elevations here of Wyoming into southern Montana, all the way down into portions of Colorado here, where we also are seeing those winter weather advisories. So winter storm warnings in the pink and winter weather advisories in the purple there. So again, with that surface low moving through, we could definitely see some pretty significant snowfall and those accumulations. So be sure to make sure that you are staying off of those roadways as much as possible, because again, the travel will become very dangerous out in those upper elevations. But other than that, we look pretty good as of right now. So we're gonna moving on here to the HRR. We're going to be taking a look at our severe threat for today. We're going to be breaking this down hour by hour, so you can see as we get into 5 p.m. This is really the 4 to 6 p.m. time frame. As we're getting to the dinner time frame, you already do have some cells that are popping up here into portions of northern Iowa here around Fort Dodge. You could actually see a couple of these cells could definitely start already producing some pretty large hail and some damage winds as they move off to the north and east here. But this is going to be kind of our first little taste of severe weather as we get through today. But watch as we continue to get throughout the day. There comes that main cluster of these semi-discrete supercells here north of Omaha. Look at northwestern Iowa here, really starting to see a lot of the severe action. I think a lot of these cells could definitely be producing large hail. We're talking large hail up to, baseball, maybe even large apple size, as we have that enhanced risk for severe weather today. But you can see a lot of these cells have very, very high DBZ values on your simulated reflectivity here. So again, as these cells continue to move off to the east, they will likely produce large hail near the Lamars, Denison, Fort Dodge, and even all the way out to Mason City here. But north of Omaha, we're talking about a pretty significant threat for seeing large hail. And obviously, I think tornado or two will be possible. But watch as this cell or these cells continue to move off to the east. This cell over Fort Dodge in particular looks very primed for producing large hail. I mean, again, we're talking the threats of up to large apple size, and the Storm Prediction Center says that we could see hail even larger than the size of 3 inches in diameter. So again, anywhere in the circled area is where I'm very concerned about the threat for large hail. So if you do get put under a severe thunderstorm warning for large hail, make sure you are parking your cars in your garage, and really anywhere across the severe threat, even without the storms today. I would definitely consider parking your car in your garage if you have one, so that you don't have to do it just in case you do get hit by one of those big time hailers there. But definitely some significant supercell development will be likely today, and then these storms will continue to sweep off to the east, really as we get into the overnight hours. But that maximum hail threat is really going to occur from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern or Central, and then really as those storms continue to move off to the east past the Waterloo, Marshalltown, and Decorah area, that's when these storms will start to lose fuel. But anywhere north of Des Moines is where we're going to really see that very large hail threat kind of be present there throughout the evening and overnight hours of today. And then the storms move off to the east there. But I would definitely watch out for a quite the stormy overnight hours out here for portions of southwestern Minnesota, or excuse me, southwestern Wisconsin, and even in southern Minnesota, we could definitely see some pretty stormy activities. But this is where we're really watching for the high severe weather threat, as that large hail threat will definitely be present here across portions of northern Iowa into eastern Nebraska. All right, so we're moving on here to your updraft helicity tracks here. This is basically showing us what the HRRR is hinting at, what areas the HRRR is hinting at to see the possible tornado threat here. And so wherever you see these brighter colors of red and orange, this is where we're picking up on a possible threat of seeing rotation within these supercells. And HRRR does want some of this to occur just north of the Omaha metro area. I definitely do think we could not, we can't rule out a tornado or two today. I definitely do think that that's going to be possible, and you can see some isolated spotty areas here of more rotation within these supercells. So again, this is basically just showing us where the HRRR is showing the potential for some low-level rotation to develop, and where we could definitely see some stronger updrafts develop with these supercells. So really the biggest tornado threat will likely be towards the beginning of this event, and then as these storms continue to kind of congeal into that line, they'll likely become more of a cluster, producing large hail and damaging winds. But really back here in Nebraska and far eastern or western Iowa is where we're going to see that the highest tornado threat. But again, we can't rule out a tornado or two out here into far eastern Iowa as well as we get into the overnight hours. All right. So we move on here to the Storm Prediction Center outlook for today. You can see we have an enhanced level 3 out of 5 risk for severe weather, including portions of southwest Iowa into portions of eastern Nebraska there. So it does include Lincoln, that does include Omaha and Des Moines. Right, but you can see that does include a total population of just about 2 million people. So again, not the biggest enhanced risk, but definitely something that you want to make sure you are, staying extra weather aware for. So make sure you have multiple ways to receive warnings. But you can see we have another slight risk, level 2 out of 5 risk surrounding that. All right, so if you're in those areas, make sure you are, again, staying weather aware today. But you can see we do have a 5% tornado threat, and it does include just the western half of our enhanced risk. So again, the beginning of our event is where we're going to be watching out for the highest tornado threat, and then really as those storms continue to cross into Iowa is when that tornado threat will begin to diminish. But you can see the rest of central and western Iowa is highlighted in that 2% risk there for tornadoes in that green shade. That does go all the way up into portions of southern Minnesota as well. So again, if you're in any of these areas, make sure you have multiple ways to receive warnings, because I definitely would not rule out the potential of seeing a couple tornadoes and perhaps one or two of them being on the stronger side. All right. But you look at today's wind threat is a 15% threat, so nothing too crazy, but that will definitely be present, as you will see kind of that cluster of supercells continue to move off to this area. And I think wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour cannot be ruled out. So again, if you're in this area, make sure that you are getting indoors and away from windows if you do get put under a severe thunderstorm warning. And finally, our hail threat is a 30% enhanced threat. So this is, again, the big reason why we're seeing this enhanced risk. This is what's driving our enhanced risk. So we do have a 30% threat for severe weather, for large hail in that red shade. And then hatch risk does include portions of the 15%. So if you're in the hatch risk, that means you have a significant chance of seeing large hail up to 2 inches in diameter or greater within 25 miles of a given location. All right, so really, if you're in the hatch risk where these kind of dash marks are, this is where you really need to make sure that you are paying extra attention to the weather today, because this is where we have the highest confidence and where we're going to see the largest hailfall throughout today. But you can see for those surrounding areas, we have a 15% and a 5% hail threat for today. All right, and then if we look at tomorrow's threat, we have another very broad slight risk for severe weather extending all the way from central and southern Michigan through the lower Midwest into portions of Missouri and the kind of Ozark region here, all the way down into portions of northern Texas and Oklahoma. So again, a very broad slight risk, the level 2 out of 5 risk that does include a total population of almost 40 million people. So with this big of a slight risk, I do think a slight uptrend could definitely kind of bring out the upgrade to an enhanced risk, and I think that would likely occur somewhere in here, or possibly back here in Oklahoma, as we do have obviously that higher hail threat as well. So if we look at tomorrow's hazards, you could say as of right now, we have a pretty broad 2% threat for tornadoes, and then we do have a 15% non-hatch wind, and then we have another 15% hail threat, but you can see it is hatched back down into northern Texas and western Oklahoma. So that's kind of where we're seeing the biggest threat for kind of severe weather as we get into tomorrow. All right, so this is going to be kind of the HRRR afternoon where we're going to be breaking down the severe threat for tomorrow hour by hour. So you can see as we get into the morning hours of tomorrow, we already do see a couple of supercells develop out here into portions of Iowa, into maybe as far north as southern Mississippi, or excuse me, southern Minnesota. I do think that if these cells do stay discrete, we could definitely have the potential to see some isolated spin up tornadoes. Again, it really depends on how discrete and far away these storms are from each other and how strong they will be. But I definitely do think throughout the morning hours of tomorrow, we can definitely see that possible tornado threat. But you can see as we get into the kind of the evening and overnight hours of Friday into Saturday, that's when these storms begin to erupt. We do get another cluster of storms to develop out here into Missouri and into southern Iowa here. But I definitely do think that again, if these storms also do stay discrete and they do kind of continue to gain strength, I do think that we could definitely see an isolated tornado or two come out of this kind of region of supercells. So again, if you're in this area, do not sleep on this threat. And I do think that, again, we can't rule out the potential for, say, a couple areas of strong rotation or perhaps a tornado or two. But really, as we get into the evening and overnight hours, this whole line of thunderstorms continues to kind of develop. And you can see as we get into the very early morning hours of Saturday, this is really when the prime time for this event kind of unfolds here. You can see we do actually see an updraft velocity track showing up here on the HRRR here for Southern Illinois, which basically kind of shows us where the model is picking up on possible threat for seeing a low level rotation and maybe even some tornadoes. So I would circle kind of two areas of this this line. You can see that the southern area looks to me more of like a tornado producing line. So I really do think that the southern part of this line will be the area to produce tornadoes. And I think our zone up here on the northern part of our line will likely kind of be capable of producing damaging winds and maybe some small hail. But really, the most intense severe weather I think will occur kind of farther south here, mainly across portions of southern Indiana, Ohio, and Illinois, is where we're really going to see the hail and tornado threat for tomorrow into Saturday. But watch actually as these storms continue to develop out here into Missouri. Southwest Missouri, I would not rule out the potential for seeing a couple tornadoes as well. So again, a pretty widespread severe weather outbreak is looking possible for tomorrow into Saturday morning. But do not sleep on this event because again, this is going to be a pretty widespread area that we need to watch out for. And I am definitely seeing a potential for seeing tornadoes on the southern part of this kind of line or cluster of storms, if you will. All right, so we're going to be moving on here to the cape levels for this is for tomorrow's event. We are looking at a different website here, so I just want to make sure you guys know what to look at here. So again, this is your main map here, just showing us what our cape levels are looking like. But just so you guys know, your timestamps are down here. This is your date and your time. So again, this is in Eastern, so take away 1 hour from this 1 hour earlier. That's where you're going to get Central Time from. But you can see as we get into 10 a.m. already, on Friday, cape levels are starting to rise out in this area, which is another way of saying instability levels or convective available potential energy. But you can see as we get into the afternoon and evening hours, our cape levels rise significantly out here into portions of southern Wisconsin, down into eastern Iowa, into northern Illinois. Again, this is the environment where those cells that we were looking at, those discrete cells on the HRRR, if those cells do kind of develop and initiate, they will be moving into this same environment. So that's why we're concerned for the potential of seeing a tornado or two if those storms do become much stronger and potentially explosive in nature there. But we're talking about, very long tracking and quick moving supercells that I think, again, will be capable of producing some rotation and maybe even a tornado or two if they become strong enough into the evening and or into the afternoon evening hours. But you can see for the main part of our risk area, our cape levels definitely rise to a pretty significant amount. You can see about 1 to 2,000 joules per kilograms, and you can see really as we get into the evening hours, this is when your line is pretty much fully developed. You're going to see cape levels pretty much in the 1 to 2,000 joules per kilogram range. You can see all the way down here from central Texas through all the way up through the Midwest and into portions of the Great Lakes region. We're going to see cape levels likely again between 1 to 2,000 joules per kilograms, but this entire area likely will be capable, or this environment will be capable of supporting, again, that large hail, tornado, and especially that damaging wind threat as we get into tomorrow. So I would definitely not sleep on this threat as we get into Saturday morning, but really as we get into Saturday afternoon, or really the very early morning hours of Saturday is when that threat completely diminishes. All right, so we move on to the HRRR. We're going to be looking at your significant tornado parameters. So this basically shows us where the HRRR is hinting at the best threat for seeing a tornado, or possibly even a stronger tornado here. But if you look, you can see that our STP values do increase in some isolated areas, meaning that we will have isolated spots of stronger rotation, especially out here in central Illinois. Would not rule out the threat of seeing a couple tornadoes, one or two in which being strong. And then you can see also some STP values increasing out here into portions of northeastern Oklahoma. So again, we have a 2% threat as of right now, but I definitely would not be surprised if we saw an upgrade to a 5% over the next couple of days here, because or the next couple of hours, as I really do think that the signal for a couple tornadoes, and one in which could be strong, I definitely do think that that threat is increasing. So again, I would not sleep on tomorrow's tornado threat. I think it's not going to be nothing too crazy, but definitely something that you want to make sure you are watching out for. All right, and so we finally move on here to the Storm Prediction Center's outlook for day 4. This is as we're getting into your Easter Sunday. So again, this is when we're going to be talking about people, getting outside and hanging out with family, and a lot of people traveling and stuff. We have a 15% slight risk for severe weather, including portions of southern Missouri all the way down through all of Arkansas, northern Louisiana, and northeastern Texas there. Again, that's a 15% level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather. And this is going to be driven off likely by a tornado and damaging wind, possibly even a large hail threat. So we're going to be breaking down this threat as well. So you can see as we're getting into Saturday, and into Sunday, your trough, which is kind of behind all the severe weather, is starting to become more amplified and is starting to take on that negative tilt here. So this is where we're looking at in the 500 millibar wind speeds here. So you can see our mid-level winds do increase right where that trough kind of becomes negatively tilted. And what we will see is we will see a lot of cold and dry air come down from the backside, which will likely increase your fire danger threat out here in Nebraska, into New Mexico and into Colorado, but that will likely push all of this warm air from the warm sector shooting up north here. So this is what your pattern is going to be looking like, and on top of all this, obviously your mid-level and low-level wind speeds are going to be very, very high. So the kinematics and the thermodynamics will definitely be very they'll be very high for this event. And you can see as we get into your Sunday afternoon here, let's switch this over to Eastern time so you guys can see this better. Excuse me, but you can see as we get into the late morning and the early afternoon hours of Sunday here. This is Easter Sunday. Your trough gets very, very strong here with 500 millibar wind speeds almost getting to 90 knots. So again, very, very strong negatively tilted trough, creating a pretty big dip in the jet stream here. But you can see those mid-level winds definitely start to become amplified over portions of Oklahoma into Texas, Arkansas, southeastern Kansas, and Missouri, where we're obviously going to see the highest threat for severe weather as we get into Sunday. But this is what's going to be behind all that big time severe weather as we get into Sunday. So that's why we're very concerned about this threat, and also just because there's going to be a lot of people traveling, a lot of people outside. So we really need to make sure everyone knows about that and that they're taking shelter properly if if we do see some severe weather and some severe storms as we get into Sunday, alright? But we move over here to the European model. We're going to be taking a look at your wind shear. So this is going to be showing us what your kind of your low level winds are going to be looking like. And the stronger the shear, the higher potential there will be for rotating supercells and tornadoes. And you can see as we get into Sunday, this is really when your event peaks. Sunday afternoon, you can see we see 70 to 80 knot shear, all the way really from southern Iowa down through Missouri, and especially down here into Arkansas and Oklahoma. And I'm saying that because this is where your highest Cape levels and your dew points are going to be. So again, this is the area we're watching for the highest severe threat, and you can see that we do have very, very strong shear overlapping this area. So again, 60 to 70 knots of shear is definitely going to be capable, or it's going to enable these cells to be capable of producing strong rotation and potentially even some tornadoes. And so that's why we're very worried about Sunday's threat. And then you can see as that trough continues to move off to the east, this area will start to clear out, and your shear will definitely start to decrease as the storms continue to move off to the east. So for the last part of the update, I do want to quickly take a look at Cape once again here. This is going to be for Sunday's event, and the reason why this may not be as significant as people think it could be is because the instability levels that we're looking at, again, the convective available potential energy, it's not going to be too crazy. Really, all we see is about 1 to 2,000 joules per kilograms of Cape, but only for the southern extent of our severe threat. Really up north here, where your highest shear values are going to be, we really don't see too much instability. So the biggest tornado threat will likely lie right in the middle of these two zones, which I think is probably going to be portions of southern Missouri into a lot of Arkansas. So again, this is a preliminary kind of forecast that we're talking about here. But if I were to give you guys my best bet as to where we're going to see the highest tornado threat, as of just based off the information we have as of right now, I would say it's probably going to be somewhere down here in the portions of southern Missouri through Arkansas and northern Louisiana. But again, Cape levels will likely be between 1 to 2,000 joules per kilograms farther south, and then really 500 to 1,000 joules per kilograms farther north, which isn't as kind of conducive here for severe weather development. But again, really the highest instability levels that we see out here is going to be farther to the south, which kind of hints towards a kind of a messier storm mode. So we're hoping that that's the case, because at that point, we'll likely see a little bit of a lower tornado threat. But again, I would not sleep on Sunday because this trough placement looks very good. So I would not rule out the potential of seeing a couple tornadoes, maybe even a couple strong tornadoes. But really, we'll have to wait until the Storm Prediction Center really kind of issues their day 1, day 2, and day 3 outlooks for this event to kind of get a better idea as to what exactly we can expect for your Easter Sunday. All right. So that's all I got for you guys. Thank you all for tuning in. I apologize again if I did kind of mess up or trip on my words here. I did record an update just about the same information, an hour ago, and I didn't realize, but my mic was muted, so hopefully it worked this time. But again, if you haven't already, make sure you're hitting the subscribe button. Make sure that you are subscribing to Davis's Weather and Jesse and Levi, because they will be doing severe weather coverage for this event. And if I can do severe weather coverage, I will definitely do it. But again, I might be busy because it is Holy Week and we are getting towards Easter Sunday, so I probably will be busy. But if possible, I will definitely try to get myself on here so I can give you guys some coverage for some of these days. So again, if you're in Nebraska or Iowa, make sure you have multiple days to receive warnings. And if you're under the gun for severe weather for the next couple of days, just don't be scared, be prepared. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you for coming to watch. I'll see you guys in the next video.